Welcome back everyone to the pod. It's a different view today of my room. If you're on the video version of this, you can tell it's a slightly different view today. Usually the back of the wall or the background is this wall right here. And I usually film at night because I think the lighting is a little bit more stable at night because it's all artificial lighting, whereas I guess I'm sitting in front of the window now, but usually the way I have it set up, the backlight gets really weird and it's really annoying to edit in post, and I don't think I ever do a good job. And so yeah, that is a long-winded way to say welcome to a different view of my room. I have been slacking a little bit for the month of March in posting videos, as in I didn't post any video at all. I had filmed a podcast episode on my birthday that I had finished editing and was going to release, but I feel like 2 podcast episodes in a row on the feed, doesn't look that good. I think I'm gonna do it anyways. There is gonna be a video coming out soon that is more of a main channel kind of vibe about MD PhD versus significant research essays, which one of my viewers requested. And so that's gonna be out soon. I hope it's gonna be okay. Because even when I was filming the video, I'm like, oh, I feel a little out of practice. Podcast episodes, on the other hand, I feel like there's just kind of a lightness to it because I can talk about whatever I want. It is more relaxed. Not that it is less work to prep for, because I always have notes. I always have things that I want to talk about, because I feel like if I'm just talking to you guys and don't really have notes or just bullet points, it's kind of like I'm gonna miss something, you know, and I'm gonna be editing later and be like, oh, like I should have talked about that or whatever. There's also kind of a fear of where this channel is gonna go after I kind of cover, you know, all of the admissions process or share all I have to share about the admissions process, because genuinely I feel like I'm getting there. Like there are some things, you know, like that I wouldn't really feel that comfortable commenting on or sharing about because it's not my personal experience. I'm not on an admissions committee, and so all I can do is really just share what I think. And of course, like I've done vlogs before, and there's always stuff that I can talk about, but it's just kind of like, what are people interested in? What should I make? And so I feel like sometimes thinking about all these different expectations and everything kind of stresses me out. And I think lately I've just been so overwhelmed with social media that, one, I deleted them all off of my phone. Like no more Instagram, no more Reddit, no more TikTok, which we'll get to that. And I've just kind of been living like the best quote unquote analog life. Like I've been working on a cross stitch. This is actually supposed to be in a circle hoop. Sorry for podcast listeners who can't see the screen. It is a cross stitch design of a bunch of mini plants and cactuses. I'm almost done with it. I think I'm within like maybe 2 hours of finishing. I'm a slow stitcher. This is my first ever cross stitch. I started it like 7 years ago when I was still in my gap years, during the pandemic, and I'm just now getting around to finishing this. I've been reading again, I've been playing the piano again, and so yeah, just kind of disconnected, and it's been really nice. So that's what I've been up to, which brings us to the topic of today on quitting TikTok. Because if you guys don't know, my origin story is that I came from TikTok. I used to make this sort of videos on TikTok talking about admissions and my experience as an MD PhD student and everything like that. But that's where it kind of started. And as time went on, I did kind of exhaust, you know, all I have to share. And so I kind of also talked about whatever's on my mind that day. I made vlogs, I talked about, I don't know, just random funny things that happened to me. My most viral video, I think, had, I want to say 12 million views. And it's so silly. It's actually so stupid. It had nothing to do with med school or anything like that. I was singing and demonstrating like a device called a belt box, but whatever. It was kind of fun though, getting a video to go viral like that. But I quit TikTok about 2 months ago at the beginning of this year. And by quit, I mean, I still have my account, like all my videos are still up on there, but I did make a goodbye video saying like, see ya later. And like, I am not a big enough TikToker to be doing all that, okay? I had about 7,000 followers, but I used to post 1 to 2 times a day, every single day. And when I dropped off in January and stopped posting, I was kind of like, well, that's that. Like, I'm done. I don't plan on posting anymore. And nobody's gonna notice because I'm not a big account like that. But one of my viewers actually reached out to me and was like, hey, where you been? Like, You used to post every day. Like, are you okay? What happened? And so I was like, okay, some people might be missing me. And so I made a goodbye video, which I think was very well received. People were really sweet. I directed them to the YouTube channel if they want to continue following me, but also no hard feelings if not. I started doing TikTok at a really, really lonely time in my life. I wasn't adjusting well to medical school. I wasn't adjusting well to New York City. And I feel like most of my friends at that time were long distance friendships. And I just found it really hard to thrive, I guess, or not be lonely. And I found myself really craving human connection most days. And so TikTok was a way for me at the time to fill in some of those gaps. And I really found a community on there, not just with the people who like interact with my videos, but also with other creators who are in medical school. Like I've met some of them in person. If you guys watch a lot of TikTok, you guys might know Alex. He's a pre-med TikToker. Also, I have a vlog on my channel with Beth. I do remember when TikTok was gonna like shut down or whatever, and then it actually did for like 24 hours. Everyone was like making goodbye videos, and a bunch of us started YouTube channels, but I don't think most of them have kept up with it, but I still follow them on here. But yeah, YouTube is kind of like a different format, a bigger commitment in a way, because in the past when I was posting on TikTok, for example, the reason I was able to post every day was because, you know, it's a 1 to 3 minute video. Like I can make that in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes. Just like whip my phone out, make a little video, talk about what's on my mind in that moment, edit it in the next 10 minutes, and then post. And that's it. Whereas for YouTube, I'm out here like brainstorming, thinking, scripting, editing, all of that. But in a way, I think this is where I'm supposed to be. And I'll talk about that too, because I think it has a lot to do with why I ultimately quit TikTok. I guess the most fundamental reason and the first reason is I just stopped being addicted to TikTok sometimes in January. Like, I kind of did have a social media addiction. Like, there would be days in the past where I would spend hours and hours just scrolling. But for some reason, and I don't know why, in January, it just all of a sudden stopped being fun. Like something in my brain switched off and I was like, this is actually not fun at all. I'm incredibly bored. The content is stale. And I just didn't even want to scroll anymore. And then when I didn't want to scroll anymore, I also didn't want to post anymore. I don't know why that ended up going hand in hand. And I also don't know why I was just kind of like over it sometimes in January, but that is the, I guess, first reason why. And now moving on to, I guess, the deeper reasons, which I already hinted at when I was comparing TikTok and YouTube / my time as a content creator on TikTok versus YouTube. There were frustrating things about TikTok as a creator. And even as a small one, like I only had 7,000 followers and I found it to be frustrating. First off, with short form content, people actually don't care what you have to say. And I know we're in the attention economy, whatever, the internet, whatever, people are always like trying to get your attention and you've only got, you know, the first 10 seconds to try to make someone pay attention to you. But I think with short form content like TikTok, people will listen to the first 10 to 15 seconds and boom, like they've got an opinion about the thing you have to say. They don't actually care about you finishing your thought. And I did not like that. And I also think that's why on TikTok, there has been, I guess, some of the most toxic comments I have received in my time on social media. And I started posting on social media when I was, 15 or 16, something like that. Another thing I really didn't like about TikTok as a creator is that rage baity and clickbaity content always get rewarded. And I tried a little bit of that myself. Like I would say something, you know, kind of controversial or different, if you will, in the first 5 seconds just to get people to stay. And people did stay. It was somewhat successful. But the comment section is always, almost always worse than when I don't try to do that stuff. I never said anything that was like so inflammatory that would get me in a lot of trouble. I think the most inflammatory one that I made, and it's not at all, I said something along the lines of, you're not actually a doctor when you graduate from medical school, which got people so mad. And so I got a ton of engagement. But actually what I meant by that was you still have to do residency typically. Like just because you graduate from medical school doesn't mean you can practice independently. But then everyone in the comments was like trying to tell me that I'm wrong and like coming up with these edge cases about like I don't know, situations where you can practice without residency in the US. But as you can see from that example, this is not, you know, a cancelable offense, I hope. There has been worse things that I've seen on TikTok, you know, people breaking HIPAA, people making jokes at the expense of patients, and those always get way more engagement, way more views, and it just always made me feel like people doing like bad things are getting rewarded with views, and people making like genuine educational content or like showing what it's like to be in medical school and things that are quote unquote, I guess, more normal or like toned down, or I don't know. That just like doesn't get any traction on that app. But it's not even that I want to make that sort of content, because I think rage baity and inflammatory content when you're in medical school and in the medical field can come at a cost. Like, not to bring this up, but also there was a med student that I think allegedly got dismissed by his medical school because of something that he had posted on social media. He had over 300,000 followers on TikTok. And that video did go very, very viral. But again, it's for the wrong reasons. My viral experience was with something called the belt box, and I can show you guys. Basically, this is called a belt box. What you do is you essentially just cover your mouth with it, and then it muffles your singing voice. It's like a practice room on the go, if you will. And I have this because I live in an apartment complex and sometimes I want to sing at night. And so I was like demonstrating this and singing Golden on TikTok, and people were super, super mad, but I did get viral for it. So the discourse in that video is actually super funny. A lot of people were arguing about whether or not I was actually belting and whether or not I actually should be using a belt box. My thought is that a lot of people commenting that are probably children, because this is just something I own. Like, just because it's called a belt box doesn't mean that you have to be belting into it. I also never claimed in any part of the video that I was belting. It was very much like a head voice, loud singing sound. But this is exactly what I mean. Like, the comments made no sense. I went viral for seemingly no reason. It was kind of stupid. So that's my side story about the time I went viral. Obviously, it wasn't like anything bad. It was just kind of stressful getting all of those messages from these like really angry people who are angry about my singing technique, or I guess the lack thereof. But it was also very accidental, right? Like, I didn't plan on it going viral. Whereas I feel like a lot of TikTok creators actually intentionally try to do things to get a reaction out of people in order to get viral. And I think when you're in the medical field, that unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, can go really wrong. And all that is to say, I feel like rage bait content, inflammatory content tends to do really well on short form apps like TikTok. Whereas kind of what I made, which is mostly educational content, experiential content, like content about my experiences, kind of honest experiences, that was just like really not finding its audience. That is not to say there aren't good educators on TikTok. Oh my God, what is his name? Dr. Paul Tran. Like, he has a really successful TikTok account. There are other attendings who have really successful accounts, and I really admire them for it, and I really love their content. But ultimately, no, I just wasn't having that much fun on the platform, and I just feel like, you know, my content is not reaching the people that I want to be reaching. And the last reason, I guess, and I think it's all related, I like to talk. You guys know me. If you watch any of my videos, if you listen to the pod, I like to make lots of disclaimers. I like to go in depth about things, and TikTok is just not quite the format for that. Like, yes, you can technically, I think, upload up to like 30 minutes, but nobody is on that app to watch that kind of content. And I will say, even for YouTube, right? Like, I always add chapters, for example, because I want people to be able to find the thing that they're looking for in my 25-minute long video. I'm not talking just to talk, like, I want to be helpful, like in those long form videos. But sometimes it does take me like 3 minutes to talk about something to the level and the depth that I want to talk about. And so, like, that's why I put the chapters. I'm like, okay, if it's gonna take me 25 minutes to talk about this topic, then, you know, I wanna take the full 25 minutes. And somebody looking for a certain piece of information might not find value in the full 25 minutes, but hey, like, there are chapter markings and they might find value in, you know, the 5 minutes in the middle or whatever. And then on TikTok, it's frustrating because it's like you're trying to squeeze as much information as you can in a small amount of time, And yes, again, you can upload longer, but nobody is staying for that. And so you're just trying to like play the attention game. You're trying to like keep their attention for like X amount of time. And then like as you're trying to do that, you cut out a bunch of stuff and then you lose a lot of the depth and the information. And I also feel like on YouTube, you're much, much less at the mercy of the algorithm. Like something that is quite interesting to me is on TikTok, usually I'll pretty much know if a video will pop off within the first 48 hours. It is very, very rare for a video to take off after, 3 months, 6 months, something like that. If it's not doing well in the first 2 weeks or so, it's not going to do well. Now on YouTube, what's been really interesting is you can actually just leave videos there. Like for example, I made a video about mistakes you can be making on the MCAT cars. That video did so poorly within the first, I think, month, even 2 months. But now it is popping off. It is one of my like best videos, I would say, in terms of performance. And like when you look at the analytics, it's like a flat line in the first, however many days. And then all of a sudden it goes linearly, like straight up vertical 90-degree moment. And so on YouTube, you're just like less at the mercy of the algorithm because, people might search for a certain keyword. And then once they search that keyword and they find your video, like more and more people will end up watching it. I actually don't feel like I'm at such a loss if I post a video and it doesn't do so well within the first week or so, because I'm kind of like, someone will find it later, someone will find it helpful, like it's just in my backlog. But like, let's talk a little bit about the positives. Like, what did I learn from my brief stint as a medfluencer? First off, dealing with hate comments. As I mentioned, I started posting on social media when I was like 15, 16, and this channel is still up. You could take a look if you want, though I've cleared a lot of the older videos. I used to make music covers on YouTube. And I remember there was one video, it really popped off for the time and, for a 15-year-old. I made a cover of a Taylor Swift song and I made a little home music video to go with it. And the comments were vicious. Like there were so many comments, but most of them were saying that I was ugly, that I had no talent, that I was doing poorly, like whatever. My mom actually ended up telling me to take down that video because she was so hurt by the comments that people were giving me, whereas I was kind of like, whatever, this is like part of the internet. So that was kind of like my first experience of posting on the internet and getting kind of negative attention. But man, like being on TikTok really took that to the next level. I think I partially used to be addicted to TikTok because I was always so anxious about the reception of new videos I posted. And again, I posted every day. And so whenever I posted a video, I always be so anxious about the reception, even though like obviously I didn't say anything that I feel like would be wrong, but you just never know how other people might perceive it, especially in this short form video format where you don't get to add a lot of nuance and people aren't willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. And so I found myself when I was posting on TikTok constantly checking notifications and constantly just like being on edge because potentially like I could be getting some like nasty comment or whatever. Like I remember one time just like I wasn't even talking about anything. Someone like commented on my page and said, oh, like you're such a pick-me for doing an MD PhD. And I didn't really know what that meant. Like pick-me was not like slang that's in my vocabulary. But then I looked it up and I was like, I guess this person thinks that I'm doing an MD PhD for a man or something. And I don't know, it was just like so weird. And when my video went viral for the belt box, that was kind of anxiety inducing too. And when my video with the belt box went viral, I got so many hate comments that I think at some point I actually just stopped reading my notifications. Like for some reason, TikTok doesn't allow you to stop notifications on one specific video. And so they just kept coming in. But I also think that experience made me develop thicker skin, I guess, in terms of like hate comments, the opinions of people who are hiding behind a screen. And also I think the belt box video was the moment when I just stopped checking notifications on comments. I just stopped. There was something about TikTok that was just so there. It was so accessible. It was so top of mind, even though I had all notifications turned off. It's like I would be waiting for something and inadvertently click on the TikTok app and check notifications and things like that, and it would get me anxious. Whereas I feel like YouTube, it's just kind of like running in the background. And yes, I am fairly aware of the comments that do come in, but they're pretty infrequent and I don't worry about them so much. But it also made me think about how like even with all this experience of posting on the internet, I mean, I'm 29 now and I started posting when I was 15. Being accustomed to other people's opinions and the hate comments really was kind of a journey. Like, obviously, I am human. Things like this will definitely still affect me. If I got an onslaught of hate comments today, I will definitely feel a sort of way. I will be sad. I will be affected. But just thinking about where I was at even a couple years ago, I'm like a very sensitive person at baseline. Like, I don't know, I feel like now I'm probably a little less affected by these things than I was a couple years ago. And I also think I realized that I get affected by these comments because when I get these comments and I feel like they're wrong, I feel misunderstood. And I realize that is the reaction that I get when I get these comments. Like, I feel misunderstood and therefore I am sad. But I've also come to realize that being misunderstood is actually just part of every creator's journey. Like, no matter what you do, there will be somebody who hates you and gets triggered by your very existence, by the fact that you even have the audacity to talk and post about whatever you want on the internet. And I think I've just come to realize that being misunderstood is just a part of the creator journey. And the sooner I can be comfortable with being misunderstood, the sooner I can be like a more genuine version of myself on the internet. At the same time though, I also don't need everyone to understand me. It's just that I've come to realize that I get a reaction and I feel a sort of way when I get mean comments. Like, that's coming from this discomfort of feeling like somebody has misunderstood me. But yeah, that's something I'm actually really proud of in the last couple years. It's just like putting myself out there, being perceived by, I guess, millions of people at this point because of that one video that got viral. I don't know, like being okay with the discomfort of people leaving me hate comments. Because, you know, with that belt box video, for example, I actually really wanted to turn the comments off because I was feeling so anxious about it, but I did nothing wrong. Like, people are just out there, you know, like, and they can say whatever they want. The last thing I want to talk about is whether or not people in my real life knew I was making TikTok videos. Okay, so for the most part, people did know. Like, my classmates from medical school knew, my close friends definitely knew, my parents know, my sisters know. The only person that probably doesn't know is my PhD advisor, but that's fine. It was funny because there was one time I was filming an OOTD in the grad student offices, and I was kind of like sequestered in the back of the cubicle spaces because I just like thought it was weird, like what I'm doing in the office. But as I was like doing a little spin, doing a little kick, like showing off my outfit, my advisor actually walked by and saw the whole thing. And when I turned, I saw him and I was like, oh, hey. And he was like, what are you doing hiding back there? And I was like, oh, you know, it was very awkward. I did not want to explain what an OOTD was. I didn't want to tell him I was doing TikTok. But, you know, a question that people have asked in the past, because I used to do TikTok live, is how do you get over kind of people's judgment of you, or like your med school classmates knowing that you're on TikTok or on social media and things like that? I think with the judgment bit, I try not to think too hard about it, because if I think too much about it, I get scared and then I don't post. Like, I overthink it. I think that the people who know about my TikTok like are generally like really nice about it. And people have commented in the past, like to my face, that they like it or whatever. It also helped that there was one time we did an Instagram takeover for the admitted students, and I was posting all weekend because I loved social media at that point. And so people also kind of knew like, oh, like she's probably like doing this in her free time, like not just for admissions. Going back to the judgment though, I feel like people are probably judging me. And that's what I mean by I don't think too hard about it. But you can't change what other people think of you. Like, if they're judging you for social media, they're judging you for social media. I mean, like, even if you don't do social media, they're probably judging you for something else. And so you should really just do whatever you want. People are going to judge you no matter what you do. And so, like, if you really want to start an account, you really want to put yourself out there on social media, you should just do it. Like, you shouldn't put other people's judgment as part of your equation on whether or not you should do something. I also think it's a lot more socially accepted these days to be a medfluencer. In fact, I think in the first year class at my school, there's a really big medfluencer. I don't know him, but I feel like he must be making a ton of money. It's funny because like when I've brought it up in the past that like I post on TikTok or whatever, people always ask, oh, like, do you make any money off of it? Like on TikTok, I was like not really making anything at all. Like sometimes I get free products, but like that's really it. Like I saved some money by not buying shampoo for like 3 years because people kept sending me shampoo. But other than that, no, like I really was not making any money off of social media. Yeah, of the people who know, it's like my PhD program knows because I vlogged the conference and some of my cohort mates and peers were in that vlog. My roommate knows. Like one of the episodes of the podcast actually showed up on her recommended, which is crazy. And yeah, so really the only person who doesn't know is my advisor. I think to wrap up this episode, I don't regret my time on TikTok. Like I had a lot of fun doing it. As I said, I started that account at a really lonely time in my life. And I think, for the years that I was on it, it really did serve a purpose. It really did help me feel connected to people. And I did meet a lot of cool people through it as well. The videos are also still up just in case it's like a useful resource for anyone. But the app has been long gone from my phone and I don't know if I will return anytime soon or ever. I left myself enough of an opportunity to return in my goodbye video. I think I titled it Bye for Now. So, there's still a chance that I might go back, but I don't think so. Like, I think I'm enjoying what we've got here right now on YouTube. I've been really enjoying making these videos. I like to talk, as I said. And of course, like YouTube is like a whole thing that you have to be really focused on. And I feel like it's just so much more time consuming than TikTok ever was. But I also find it to be a lot more rewarding at the same time. So, All right, I'm gonna end the episode here. If you're listening on Spotify, I would really appreciate it if you could rate the podcast, leave me a comment. If you're watching on YouTube and you have a Spotify account, feel free to add the show over there. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching if you're on YouTube, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!